Some first-time travelers think Marrakesh is vibrant and fun, while other visitors find it chaotic and challenging. I traveled to Marrakesh for the first time and spent 4 days in the city and loved it. But there are things you need to know before visiting Marrakesh, Morocco. Hi everyone, I'm Antoinette and welcome back to my channel. At Frolic and Courage, I like to help you plan well, have fun, and travel the world. In this video, I'll share everything you need to know about traveling to Marrakesh, from the language, culture, where to eat, what to see, stay, do, how to get around, and so much more to help you confidently plan and enjoy your first trip to Marrakesh. The first thing you need to know as a first-time visitor to Marrakesh actually starts before you arrive. You want to be prepared before you actually touch down in the city. So here are my essential planning tips before you go. Morocco is located in Western North Africa, directly across the Strait of Gibraltar from Spain. Marrakesh is located in central Morocco, inland a bit to the southwest, about 3 to 4 hours from the country's capital, Rabat. Marrakesh was founded in the 11th century. It was once the capital of a kingdom that spanned from Spain to sub-Saharan Africa. Marrakesh has seen rulers from various dynasties, different religions, from the original Berbers, mostly inhabited by the Jewish fleeing the Romans, then Christians in the 4th century and Muslims in the 8th century. After colonial control by France and Spain from 1912 to 1956, Moroccans gained their independence in 1956. Marrakesh is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and often nicknamed the Red City because the buildings are made from clay, and in the sun, where it gets very hot, it turns into this pinkish red color. Why do I say all this? Well, knowing a little history of Marrakesh is important because it informs the culture and practices that you are going to experience on your trip, like the language. The official language of Morocco and Marrakesh is Arabic and Amazigh, which is a Berber language. Many in Morocco speak French, which is the unofficial second language due to that French protectorate, but there's a push to speak more traditional languages in schools and to replace French with English for tourism purposes. Marrakesh is a multilingual city, and Spanish is also spoken amongst tourism industry professionals. But is English spoken in Marrakesh? And yes, 100% of the time we spoke English and had no issues, but it also helps to know a little French. And while you're there, you'll see most things written in Arabic, French, and English. And before you go, what about money? Do you need cash for your trip? Well, the local currency is the Moroccan dirham. It is a closed currency, which means you can only get dirham in the city and not in advance. You can't take money out and you can't bring money into the country in dirham. If you can't bring money in, are credit cards accepted? And yes, they are at hotels, riads, most restaurants and attractions, and especially when you're booking online. So okay, back to cash. Is cash necessary in Marrakesh? Yes, I'd say cash is necessary, and we use cash a lot, especially when shopping in the souks and some eateries, street foods, as well as transportation. So where do you get cash if you can only get it in Marrakesh? Well, there are exchange counters at the airport, but for the best rates, y'all, go to Al Barid Bank. Al Barid Bank is typically found in a Post Maroc, which is a Moroccan post office. Al Barid is the official bank and doesn't charge you fees to take cash out of the ATM machine, although your bank may, so check on your bank's individual policies. You can take a maximum of 2,000 dirhams or $200 per transaction, up to 4,000 dirhams or $400 a day. How much cash you need all depends on how much you want to spend, but we spent about 4,000 dirhams or $400 for our whole 4-day trip, and that included taxis, souvenirs, and whatever little quick bites we wanted to eat. If you're coming from the airport and land and need to get money before you can even take a taxi into the city, here's how to do it. Hot tip, once you arrive from the airport, you're gonna go through these doors. You'll see ATMs right over here from a couple of different banks, but what you really wanna do is walk past the security priority pickup, and then you want to go over to the domestic flight section, go around that corner, and then you will see Al Barid Bank. The prices you see in Marrakesh might be in Moroccan dirham or euros, so just be sure to keep in mind which currency you're paying in so you know what that exchange rate is. And so is Marrakesh expensive? No, I wouldn't say it is. It is pretty affordable. Meals and accommodations are all reasonable, but again, your trip can be as affordable or as luxurious as you want it to be. Another thing you need to know before visiting Marrakesh, Morocco, is when is the best time to visit? What's the weather like, and what are some packing tips? Well, if you are a US citizen, visas are not required if you're staying less than 90 days, but always check your country's requirements. Marrakesh is 6 hours ahead of the US East Coast time, and always be sure to check the weather before you go, but I'll share some quick averages to give you an idea of when is the best time to visit Marrakesh. The winter from December to February is the high season, and you're gonna see highs and lows of 43 degrees to 66 degrees Fahrenheit with rain of about 6 days. Spring from March to May is one of the best times to visit, especially in March, because temperatures are great from 50 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. In summer from June to August is the low season, because guess what? Those temperatures range from a low of 64 to a high of 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so it is hot and dry. Then there's autumn from September to November, which is also another really great time to visit. We visited in September for my birthday with the average rain about 3 days. The temperature was perfect from 55 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit and very little rain. And as a special note, if you're going in the February to March time frame, that is when Ramadan is. Marrakesh is a predominantly Muslim populated city, and so during Ramadan, Muslims refrain from eating and drinking during the day. You may find it a little bit quieter during the day, but really bustling at night. What should you pack before you arrive in Marrakesh? Definitely pack hand sanitizers and wet wipes, because it can get hot and dusty because Marrakesh is located in the desert. Also bring tissues, because of those of us with allergies like myself, the dust can get a little bothersome sometimes. You want to wear lightweight, breathable clothing. And for women, make sure your ankles, shoulders, midriff, and skin are covered. You can also bring a light scarf that can be used to cover your hair, block the sun, or just cover your body just in general. Bring sunglasses, sunblock, and a light jacket, because the temperatures you saw are a bit cooler at night. Bring a portable charger for European outlets, and a sun hat if you're going out into the desert or just around the street without shade. Bring a small, secured bag or a backpack, which is great for carrying bottled water around, souvenirs at the souks, and all the items I just mentioned, plus comfortable walking shoes. I'll put a link to my shopping list right here, so click on that link to get an idea of what you can pack for your trip, and I'll also put one in the description box below for you to check out later. Just so you know, don't worry about writing any of this down. I'll have my blog link where I'll fit all the links and everything I'm talking about today, so you can check it out and read it at your leisure. One final note before you go to Marrakesh. Is it actually safe to visit? Is Marrakesh safe for tourists? And I'd say yes, it is, but be mindful of your surroundings and petty theft, like in every major city. If you are a solo female traveler, I still consider Marrakesh to be safe, but you need to know that it is a male-dominated society. So use common sense, common safety tips, don't travel at night, and dress conservatively. And if you show a lot of skin, you will stand out in a not so pleasant way. So for Marrakesh, consider also bringing a friend with you. There are no health precautions or vaccinations required before you visit, and the nearest US embassy is actually in Casablanca or Rabat, about 100 to 200 miles away. And if you're in an emergency, dial 190. So that's what we need to know before we actually visit Marrakesh. Once you actually arrive, here is how to get around. Starting with how to get from the airport in Marrakesh to the city center. Well, if you arrive by plane, you're going to arrive at Marrakesh Menara Airport, which is about 5 to 6 miles or 7 to 10 kilometers, or about 15 to 30 minutes to the city center in the Medina. If you're taking a car or a taxi, you can either get a petite taxi, which fits about 3 adults and a minimal amount of luggage, or a grand taxi, which is more people, more luggage. And if you notice the French there, petite versus grande. From the airport, you're likely to pay about 200 dirham or about 20 US dollars. So to get to the taxi stand, once you exit the airport glass doors, you want to walk past the street and to the area that has a ramp and a controller putting passengers with specific taxis. There'll be a stand that says official taxi. If you stick to the official taxis, you should be able to get the official price that is listed, and luggage is not charged extra. Another way to get from the airport to the city center is to take the bus, which is ran by ALSA. Bus L19 is the airport shuttle that runs every 20 minutes from 6 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. From inside the airport, walk outside, across the street, up the ramp, past the official taxi station, and through the parking lot. It's located in the center of the parking lot with the other charter buses. The bus will be marked ALSA. It makes 6 stops, and it's about 30 dirham or 3 US dollars round trip. You can keep your ticket to come back a couple of days later. You pay cash on the bus, which now you know how to get cash before you leave the airport. The bus ride takes 30 to 40 minutes. I personally didn't take the bus, but Bakora Man has an excellent video on YouTube, and I'll put that in my Planning a Trip to Marrakesh playlist at the end of this video. He actually shows you where the bus picks up and every single of those 6 stops along the way. Now that you know how to get from the airport to the city center, how do you actually get around Marrakesh? What is the best way to get around the city? Continuing on the bus theme, you can take a bus. The bus costs 4 dirhams a ride, or 40 cents in US dollars. It is the most affordable way, and it can take you near the major sites and the train station. Again, pay cash on the bus, but sometimes the bus can be hot, crowded, and sometimes unreliable. You may wait forever just to have the bus not really show. Buses are limited to the main streets, and so you have to exit at a main street and then walk to your final destination. You can also take a taxi, and we already talked about petite versus grand taxis. Petite taxis are metered and a minimum charge of 7 dirhams, and they typically charge around 10 to 25 dirhams for a trip, or like 70 cents to $2.50 US. The rates increase at night, and again, pay cash for taxis. A note about taxis is that they can actually pick up multiple passengers along the way. If you don't want the driver to do this, just say so. And always be sure the meter is turned on. Don't let the driver forget, and don't get in a cab where the meter is broken. My advice to you all would be to ask your accommodations, that official taxi stand at the airport or your restaurant, to order a taxi for you. They are fast, they are convenient. You can also just raise your hand and hail a taxi on the street. In addition to taxis, there are car rentals, unless you're gonna be there long term. Most of the areas you want to visit don't allow cars, and you've gotta walk anyways. Parking's a little chaotic, and driving is even a little bit more of a challenge, but you can rent a car if you choose to do so. There are motor scooter rentals, but unless you are a highly skilled motor scooter driver with experience driving in chaotic conditions, just don't do it, okay? There have been many fatalities due to a lax of enforcement of the road rules. Sometimes you'll see 2 to 3 people on a bike, plus children. Some people wear helmets, some don't. Some people just jump off in the middle of the street, some do. There could also be flash floods from November to March, and in the summer heat, possible sandstorms. There are lots of scooters and bikes everywhere, so just be aware if you choose to drive or drive a motor scooter. Just be very, very careful of your safety. If you're looking to get from Marrakesh to other cities, there's the train. The ONCF trains, operated by the Moroccan State Railway, are available. The main train station is Gare de Marrakech near Galiz. Trains are generally considered a safe, effective way to travel between cities like Casablanca, Fez, with connections to Tangier. You can buy those tickets online or at the station. Another way to get around is with a horse-drawn carriage. This is more fun instead of a typical taxi, and it can fit around 4 to 5 people. You can pick up a horse-drawn carriage between Jema El-Fnaa Square and the Koutoubia Mosque. Prices are around 200 to 280 dirham, or 20 to 28 US dollars for a 1-hour ride. But be sure to bargain and bring something to cover your head from the sun. And finally, my favorite way is to walk. If you are located in a central part of town, walking is the best. I mentioned this before, but vehicles aren't allowed near most of the attractions, so you'll have to walk anyway, so enjoy it. I believe the best way to get around Marrakesh is to take a taxi, and then from there you can walk as much as you can. Google Maps works really, really well in Marrakesh. All right, but what about ride shares like Ubers or FreeNows? Are ride shares available in Marrakesh? Let me be the first to tell you that it is a hot topic. There is a debate between taxis and ride shares. Some people say apps like Careem and InDrive work until they don't. Some say that it's illegal, and others say it's unregulated. And this debate can get pretty heated. I'd say don't rely on ride shares, have a backup plan, and don't get caught in the middle of any of this ride share drama. If you're getting value from this video, please like it and save it for future reference, and don't forget to share it with your traveling companions so that you all have the information available for your next trip. That's what you need to know before you get to Marrakesh: how to get around, how to get from the airport to the city center, money, currency. Now let's talk about where is the best place to stay in Marrakesh. What are the best areas to stay at? There are popular neighborhoods and best areas to stay in Marrakesh, like the Medina, which is the old city inside the walls. It is the city center, and if you want to feel like you're in the heart of a traditional city, then you definitely want to stay at the centrally located Medina. Galiz, or Ivernej, which is the new area of town, which is outside of the city walls, and it's a modern experience with plenty of amenities. There's Palmeraie, Kashba, Oliveraie, and Milla, which is the old Jewish quarter. In addition to the areas, you also need to decide, do you want to stay at a riad or a hotel? There are definitely differences, pros and cons of each. With hotels being consistent across brands, you know what to expect. It's a bit cookie cutter, whereas riads are more traditional and more of a cultural feel. There's so much to know about a riad, and I recommend them 1000%. I personally stayed at Riyadh Idra, but I did a whole video on the pros and cons of staying at a Riyadh versus hotel, as well as a deep dive into the areas and the best places to stay from every budget, from a nice simple budget to a luxurious stay. So you want to check out my where to stay in Marrakesh video in my planning a trip to Marrakesh playlist at the end of this video and in the description box down below. So those are the best areas to stay in Marrakesh. You also need to know what are the must-see attractions and activities and things to do, as well as day trips in Marrakesh. Let's first start with the must-visit sites and landmarks. I mentioned before the Medina, which is the historic old town and cultural hub. Inside and around the walls of the Medina are armed guards. Don't be surprised because they're there to protect the palace, but there is so much to do within the heart of the city. That's where you'll find Jema El-Fnaa, the heart of Marrakesh's Medina, with its bustling square, which is alive with performers, food stalls, and traditional markets. It is the city's cultural hub. Koutoubia Mosque is iconic with its towering minaret. This mosque is a symbol of Marrakesh, and although you can't enter the mosque unless you are Muslim, you can enjoy the architecture from the outside and walk in the beautiful green and water spaces nearby. Bahia Palace is a 19th century palace showcasing exquisite Moroccan craftsmanship. It is mostly empty, but the craftsmanship is alive and well. There are rooms, mosaics, and beautiful gardens. The Saadian tombs are rediscovered in 1917. These ornately decorated tombs are a relic of the Saadian dynasty in Morocco. Majorelle Gardens and Yves Saint Laurent Museum. This is a peaceful garden designed by Jacques Majorelle and later owned by Yves Saint Laurent, the famous fashion designer. The museum is located next door and showcases the designer's work. You definitely want to book these tickets in advance before you get to Marrakesh. Le Jardin Secret is a hidden gem in the heart of the Medina, offering serene gardens, stunning architecture, and a glimpse of traditional Moroccan life. You can also visit a hammam for a relaxing spa-like experience. And Maison de la Photographie, which is set in a riad. It's a private collection of 8,000 photographs about Morocco from 1870 to 1950. You also can go on a guided tour, which is what I did. It was the best experience. You can choose a half-day or full-day tour to see all of this and to get a layout of the city and insights from a local. If this is your first time in Marrakesh, I highly recommend doing a private tour on the first day of your trip. It was really affordable, somewhere around 60 to 80 US dollars. We got not only a private guide, but a private car to take us all around the city and give us the best introduction to Marrakesh we could possibly have. Do not go on a trip without a wonderful guide to give you the layout, the culture, history, all there that'll set your foundation for a wonderful trip in Marrakesh. In terms of nightlife and entertainment, there are rooftop bars. Marrakesh is known for its scenic rooftop terraces. You can try spots like La Salama or Nomad for stunning views of the Medina while sipping cocktails and mocktails. There are Fantasia shows, which are traditional Moroccan dinner and entertainment experiences at Chez Ali, featuring belly dancers, acrobats, horse riders, all the like. There are nightclubs, and some top clubs include Teatro and 555 Marrakesh, which cater to both locals and tourists, with international DJs and performances all night long. In Galiz, which is the modern part of the city, you can find trendy lounges, delicious restaurants, and bars for a more upscale nightlife scene. Those are some things to do, but one thing you need to know about visiting Marrakesh as a first-time visitor are what are the best day trips from Marrakesh. You can go to Ourika Valley, just an hour's drive away from Marrakesh. This beautiful valley in the Atlas Mountains offers waterfalls, traditional Berber villages, and hiking opportunities. We went on a day trip that picked us up from our riad in the Medina all the way to the Atlas Mountains, where we saw Ourika Valley as well as 4 other valleys and had lunch with a traditional Berber family. It was the best meal of the trip. Oh my gosh, I will put that tour link in the description box down below. You don't want to miss that. Another day trip is to the Ozoud waterfalls. These stunning waterfalls are located about 2.5 hours from Marrakesh. They are the tallest in Morocco. You can swim, boat, or hike around the area. Essaouira is a coastal town 2.5 hours from the city, known for its laid-back vibe, fortified Medina, and excellent seafood. It is the perfect beach getaway. You can go to Ait Ben Haddou, and excuse my pronunciations. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site 3.5 hours from Marrakesh that has an ancient fortified village, and it has been featured in popular films, including Gladiator. The Agafe Desert is for those who are short on time but still want a desert experience. It's about 40 minutes from Marrakesh, and it's more of a rocky desert, kind of unique lunar-like landscape. You can enjoy camel rides, quad biking, or even luxury camping. And there's also a hot air balloon ride over the desert with breakfast early in the morning so you can see the entire layout of the city in a magical experience. This list is not exhaustive, y'all, so if you have any suggestions or tips on what to see, eat, and do in Marrakesh, please leave them in the description box down below so that we can all build the perfect itineraries for our trips. And speaking of recommendations, you also want to know, before you go to Marrakesh, what to eat in Marrakesh from food, drink, and the tipping culture. Well, starting with the foods that you must try in Marrakesh. Try the tagine. It is meat stew served in a clay pot. Oh, so good. There's mesemen, which are like pancakes. Harira is a lentil soup. There are olives, dates, and fresh fruits and juices, pastries. Tipping is around 10%, but some restaurants include a service charge. Check the restaurant menu for that. Is it safe to drink the tap water? Yes, it is, and it's fine for brushing teeth and bathing. We drank bottled water the entire trip. At Frolic and Courage, I love food, and y'all know I did an entire food video dedicated to the authentic dishes and where to find them, restaurant recommendations, and everything you need to know about dining. So check out my food guide to Morocco in the Planning a Trip to Marrakesh playlist after this video. We've talked about money and currency, food, where to stay, some things to do, day trips. Now there are some specific tips I want to share with you based on our trip and the things that I observed. So let's get into this. How many days in Marrakesh is enough? Well, I think 3 days is enough to tour the city, take a day trip, and sample local food, especially if you choose to go on one of those private tours. Before you get to Marrakesh, you also need to know about airport security. When you arrive via plane, there are long lines, y'all, so expect to stay in line at least 1 to 2 hours. When we arrived, we were kind of shocked at how long the line is and how slow it moved. Each adult has to go before the customs official individually, and you will be asked about your trip. So if you're the planner of the trip like me and you already know what to do, what you're doing, where you're staying, make sure you share a copy of your itinerary with every adult because they will have to speak for themselves. Children can come with an adult, but couples will be separated, friend groups will be separated and questioned individually. And that is why the lines are long. If you don't get picked for additional screening, they will handwrite a number in your passport, which will then be checked at a second checkpoint before you're good to go. So make sure you use the bathroom before you get in line and don't schedule any activity within 3 to 4 hours of your arrival if arriving by plane. On the same note, on your departure, you have to go through baggage screening before you enter the airport. And then you must check in at an airport desk to receive a paper boarding pass. Online check-in will give you an error, and at least for the first leg of your flight if you're doing a layover. On the return home, we arrived 2 hours before boarding to go through that baggage screening before we entered the airport, to check in at the desk, which took less than 5 minutes. After that, we had to scan our boarding pass at the gate. Then we went through a formal security screening after about 10 minutes, then passport control again for another 33 minutes. But the good thing is there are over 30 open lanes, so you can get through this for your departure pretty quickly. So make sure you're building in at least a good 1 to 2 hours to go through the screening process on your departure back home. So that's the airport. Now let me share some more tips about the Medina and the souk, which is where you're gonna find a lot of the fun shopping. Google Maps works really well, but trying to remember a shop inside the winding souks in the Medina can be difficult and everything starts to look the same. So don't get lost. Here's what you do. Pin drop your location for shops that you wanna check out later in Google Maps or WhatsApp. We did this with a shoe shop and it was so easy to navigate back. The Medina and the souks are an explosion for your senses. There are sights, sounds, smells, textures, and can be kind of crowded and a lot to see. There are narrow streets, but somehow motorbikes and some cars make their way through, and at first it can be a little bit overwhelming. And the bikes zipping through come at a surprise because they're so close to you. But after about a day or so, you get used to it and you can start hearing the bikes coming and you just step to the side. And also be sure to secure your pockets and don't let anything fall out. But the souks are so much fun and a great place for souvenirs. We picked up a number of souvenirs, like these really cool custom sandals I have here, fun little slippers, actually through our riad, but you can find them in the souks. I also picked up some spices because the food is great, y'all. I picked up this Ras Al Hanout, which is a spice blend of over 10 different spices, specifically 35 here. And I picked up this Pour le Poisson, which is a special fish seasoning to take home with me and season my food when I get home. So it's a little taste of Morocco that'll fit in your bag, very small, very affordable, and a nice souvenir. You can pick up argan oil. I also recommend checking out the rugs and light fixtures that can come with or without plugs. You can actually pick up a tagine for future cooking, textiles. There are so many wonderful things to bring back as souvenirs.
The souks are organized by material, so if you're looking for wood or textiles or leather or even metal craftworks, even though it may not seem like it, each of the souks is crafted for a specific type of materials. So be sure to check the signage outside of the souk to see which area you're about to enter so you can shop with confidence.
And also in the Medina and souks, have fun, haggle, and don't back down. It is expected. And don't take anything personally. If someone gives you a price, start at 60% of that price, and cash is king. You can use cash for leverage and only bring as much as you want to spend that day, and leave the rest in a safe location. It is also a great negotiation tip. If you only have so much money in your pocket, cash right here, right now, take it or leave it. Part of the joy of Marrakesh souks are the theatrics involved with negotiation. So again, don't take anything personally. If someone says, oh, you're trying to, get over on me, this is too low, oh my goodness. It's all part of the experience. So don't take anything personally and be willing to walk away if you don't get the price that you're looking for. And along those lines, don't be seduced by the first person who draws you in their shop. You can shop around the souks for the best price, and many of the shops have the same thing, so you can get a better price elsewhere. Also, do not willingly follow strangers offering to help you to find something. This is a scam that you'll find out, and something that we experience too. These people willing to help you, they can sniff out tourists, right? And you'll be led into almost a trap with high-pressured sales tactics designed to intimidate you into spending more money. Don't do it, and we almost fell for it before realizing we were being led away from the area we wanted to go. On our tour, we knew we needed to go that way, but this person was leading us over here. So if that happens to you too, just promptly turn around and just go the opposite direction. The guy was mad at us and we just walked away. Like, whatever dude, you can get mad, that's not a concern of us. They may even ask you for money if you decide to follow them. They'll come out of nowhere like, oh, you're tourist, right? And they'll start a conversation with you or attempt to start a conversation with you. But just say, no thank you, no shukran, and then just move about your business. Another helpful tip that you need to know before going to Marrakesh and the Medina souks is to not walk around at night. The souks are wonderful during the day, but they are kind of scary at night. They are dark, poorly lit, and people are just popping up around corners. There's some kind of seedy people. It's got those flickering lights. It's kind of scary. And I was telling my hun, it is the making of a good horror movie. So don't get caught there at night. In the Medina, there's also snake charmers and monkey, and you've got to pay to take those photos. So if someone says, oh yeah, you like this monkey, take a photo with it, they're gonna be after you for cash. And quite honestly, the monkeys kind of look poorly taken care of and a little bit like, I don't know, just sketchy. So you may want to, do what you think is best. In terms of the physical space in Marrakesh, it's a little bit smaller than maybe what we're used to in Western society. Some spaces may be tough for larger people or taller people. There may be small, narrow staircases and low roofs, so watch your head. The Moroccans are friendly and social people, but photos of people are frowned upon, especially women. So ask permission or just don't do it.
And speaking of the friendly people of Marrakesh, they also like to take care of the friendly cats. They're called really community cats because everyone in the community pitches in to feed them and take care of them. When we traveled to Athens, Greece, I thought there were a lot of cats there, but oh no, Marrakesh has you beat there. So if you like cats, there are plenty there for you to look at, and if you don't, well, they don't bother you. So either way, it's a win-win.
The rooftops are fun. I mentioned this before. You can go up and down staircases to the coolest places overlooking the city. And so make it a point to dine at a rooftop somewhere. And at some point, almost every tour will take you to an oil shop. Just enjoy the experience. If you want to buy something, buy it. If not, then politely decline and go about your business. And whether you're sampling oils or exploring the souks, there's so much to experience in Marrakesh. So watch this video over here where I take you all around Marrakesh in our first time in Marrakesh vlog, and that's where my entire Planning a Trip to Marrakesh playlist exists. If you have any questions as a first-time visitor or any more tips to add, comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!